You are listening to Two Heels and a Face Wrestling Podcast, a podcast where we believe wrestling is a buffet and there's something there for everyone. Make sure you're following us on all social media such as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook under Two Heels and a Face. That's number 2 Heels and a Face. Make sure you check out our website, twoheelsandaface.com.
Era, 2 Heels and a Face.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Two Heels and a Face Wrestling Podcast. On today's episode is the continuance of the theme of checking in with people, former guests, people that have been on this podcast. So if you've been listening to us lately, you know, as of recent, we've had people like Darius Luttrell on, who I think we talked to about 2-ish years ago. Yes, we don't record probably as often as we should. And then also we had Blair Onyx on. Blair Onyx reached out to us. She wanted to do a check-in. We were more than happy to. We've always wanted to talk to Blair again. And the last time we spoke to her was, I think, November 2019. So 5 years ago. And then our today's guest was also in that same room, which I'll introduce 5 years ago. And then also on the horizon, I think maybe like a Trevor Outlaw check-in. Although we don't necessarily want to, who does? I think it's time to probably check in with Trevor. He's been doing a lot of stuff, causing a lot of ruckus in the freelance wrestling ring with Frank the Clown. But on today's episode, and I'll bring her in a second, is, like I said, a person who was in that same room 5 years ago. So let me take you back. This is 5 years ago. A Missa Kate, who is our guest, a Blair Onyx, and then Elena Black, now known as something else, had just got their career started. They were about a year in, and they all came in to have a sit-down chat and with us. And I think it's probably our highest viewed video on YouTube. Very, very fun time. And you can kind of tell listening back to that, which I did today, listening back to that, there was a little bit of nervousness in the area, but they were so full of ambition and life. And they were like worried they hadn't figured it out yet, which is funny to think about because of just how young they were, how young they still are. And now 5 years later, we have Missa Kate joining us, and we can kind of talk about how far she's come in 5 years. So it's an interesting interview. Go check that out on the YouTube page, please. But please join in welcoming me, Missa Kate, back to the Two Heels and a Face podcast. Woo! Sorry. There's a button here. I don't know where it is, but it's a welcome back. So I'm just going to do my own really quick. Chris is usually running the things behind the scenes. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention that. Chris had some work stuff come up. It is just me today, me and Missa. But I'm just going to do my own. Ready? Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Missa, how's it going?
Good. It's crazy to think, like, I was listening to you, obviously, because I didn't have a choice. But no, it's crazy to think of that was 5 years ago. It doesn't feel like it. I was like, oh, maybe like it feels like a year, maybe 2, but it's crazy to think that was 5 years ago. So yeah, it's been a minute.
The time has flown then, huh? Does it all kind of seem like a blur?
Yeah, because I think you just get so wrapped up in kind of me personally, I know I get tunnel vision on like my goals and what I'm trying to do. So it's, I don't know, time just moves so quickly, and it takes, so you mentioning it, it's funny you said that. I had a conversation with my mom yesterday, I think, where she's like, can you like chill out and realize everything that you've done so far? And I was just like, oh yeah.
It's true. And I remember because I listened to that today, you were talking about how your mom was like very nervous for you getting into the business. And I think that's true. I think like if in just kind of looking at all you've achieved right now, and I could just bring this up now, I was going to get into it, but I think right now, looking at that interview, you were like, I don't know, there was a little hesitancy in all your voices. You were all young and like, I don't know, we're kind of figuring it out. Now I feel like I talked to Missa Kate today, and you have an air of confidence about you. You have figured out, at least locally, I would say it's you, Sky, and Lainey, probably the best women that locally that you can see here in Chicago. Those are the 3 I would put, and I'm not going to rank those in any order because you guys are all great. But
because we know I'm going to be number 1, but it's okay. I won't make you do that.
Of course. Sure. But stop and smell the roses though, right? Like you have come far in 5 years.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's I agree. It's been a journey, and yeah, when we first did that interview, it was definitely like a kid in a candy shop. You're just like, I don't know
Yeah.
what to do, but I'm here and I'm excited. So moving forward to where I am now, and I'm getting a better I have gotten a better understanding, and I've gotten to enough seminars, and I've trained and podcasts, all this stuff. I've had experience now to where I'm like, okay, I have a better idea of what I'm doing, where I'm going. Again, wrestling's a never-ending pool of knowledge. So it's just I could ever sit here and be like, I got it all figured out because it's impossible. It's even the best of the best that I've spoken with have said they still are learning stuff. So that helps me be like, okay, so we're never gonna figure this out. So you just kind of got to do your best, and yeah, it's been pretty wild.
Happy WrestleVersary, by the way.
Thank you. I feel old. Thank you.
You're not as old as me. So know that anytime you come here, you will not be the oldest person in the room, I'm sure.
That's good to know.
Yeah, no, that's a good point though. You'll never be perfect. Being perfect is maybe an ideal you strive for, but no one will ever achieve it. Something new that I feel like you always give wrinkles. You always give your audience, your fandom wrinkles to like things that you're doing. That's at least what I kind of noticed. There's always some new thing you're doing. I remember on Instagram, there was a point where you posted in just all black and white photos. And I think that's cool because, and we talked about this, I'm going to reference this podcast a lot. So if you, the listener, are listening and you're like, go back and watch it because it's kind of a nice full circle. But we talked about being different a ton on that podcast. This was, I think, one of your biggest, at least from my perspective of a fan, it felt like this was like one of your biggest WrestleMania trips. It was a big hyped up WrestleMania trip. I wanted to touch in on that trip, how that trip went for you.
It was really fun. It was I'm very blessed. I didn't get to wrestle, which obviously you always want to wrestle, but it's okay. It wasn't in the cards for me. But I did do 3 signings. One of them was I'm gonna screw this up. I always say it was WrestleCon, not WrestleCade, right? Or I always get it mixed up. Either way. So I did that for 3 days. So that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning. Friday night, afternoon to night, I was at the 2300 arena for another signing.
Okay.
And then I also did a virtual Thursday. And then, of course, Mania was Saturday, Sunday night. But yeah, I went there with my crew, my little dream team. And those of you who have like followed the story, it's just pretty much a journey of myself, Jordan, who's my agent, Taz, who's my MMA trainer, Nene and Carla, who are my friends, but also trainers / kind of, I want to say colleagues, training, whatever, however you want to say it.
Right.
But yeah, it's just like a group of all of us and trying to get me to Missa Mania, and we did that. Nene kind of kicked Carla to the curb, but that's okay. But yeah, overall, it's just us like having a great time, just, coming up with something different. It was fun. And while we were out there, actually, and I'll spill a little tea, there were people that knew who I was from the videos. Like, that's who they found out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So they actually came there and they were like, oh, yeah, we like the videos. They knew me and everybody that was there equally from them. So we got a couple like group pictures. They're like, oh, can we do a cast of Missa Mania picture? So that was really cool. So that was fun that what we set out to do, like, yeah, we were having a great time, but we were also, of course, trying to entertain and we're being ourselves, like, honestly. But
Yeah.
It was cool that people saw it, resonated with it, and people even outside of wrestling that they literally just kind of went there. I wouldn't say they just came there for us, but they did come there being like, oh, we knew that you guys were going to be here, so we wanted to. So that was fun.
Yeah, you felt the love, right?
Yeah, 100%. It was it was really fun. And then it's funny now, I'll get like messages from Nene or Jordan, and they'll be like, after like during a show or something, they're like, oh, like we're just hanging out. And people are recognizing us from the videos now. They're like, hey, you're in the Miss Mania video. So I was like, cool. I was like, it's dope that people really enjoyed them. So
It's funny that leads into the next question because yeah, Miss Mania was the theme of those videos, and it felt like you got to be. I would say, and I think we'll get into like current ring persona because that relates to that combo we had 5 years ago, where I feel like now you've kind of figured out who you are. Current ring persona, I feel like has an edge to it, but in those videos, you were being goofy, like you said, you were just like being yourself. So tell me about that, like creative process. Was it just like, hey, I just want to, you like get your ass kicked in an MMA training ring, and I want to bring this to like as part of the WrestleMania. So like, can you tell me how the idea formation kind of started there?
yeah, 100%. So this was a conversation that Taz and I actually had. He came with me. We drove, I believe it was to a Wisconsin show, and I think it was green. I don't know. It was a 3-hour trip. So, you come up with different things and, conversation. And I told him this idea that I kind of had where I was like, I want to do something different that leads to Missamania. And at that time, like him and I became close, and then with Nene and Carla, and then Jordan got thrown in the picture. So I was like, between all of us, we're all a bunch of freaking goofballs and dweebs, and like, this is fun to us. Like just thinking about times hanging out. So I'm like, if we could put those into videos, I was like, that would be great. So I don't want to give too much away because I will say that there's a spoiler, we will be doing a podcast ourselves on Taz Knows. Taz has his own podcast.
Cool.
Yeah, but a lot of it was, it stemmed from that conversation that him and I had. We had like some bullet points, like these are the things we want to hit. There were some videos that just kind of happened. We're like, okay, let's make content. And a lot of stuff was improv, so that was the fun part.
Yeah. I remember that you talked about you had done kickboxing, but have you done you have trained in MMA and have done MMA?
Yeah, that's really how how I met Taz, actually. He came to a Zello show. And
Cool.
what was where did Zello used to run in Wisconsin?
Turner Hall, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Him and Nene, Carla, they came to Turner Hall, and that was his first indie event ever. He was a wrestling fan, and he was just like, oh, like this seems cool. So he went there, and they just liked my in-ring style, and they could kind of tell I have some kind of they could tell footwork, whatever. They've been doing this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, oh, she's really cool. Met up after the show, took pictures, whatever, autographs, and we were just talking. And ever since, we just kind of been spitballing back and forth and just like all that fun stuff. And he's invited me out, like, hey, if you ever want to do MMA, because I did tell him like I have a little bit of a kickboxing background and I am interested in MMA. And he was like, well, if you ever interested, let me know. And he's in Chinatown in Chicago.
Cool.
So yeah, and then eventually it took like 2 years to actually move forward to do it. But I started training with them a little bit. My schedule's all wonky, so it's not as consistent as I would like. But it was fun because while he was training me MMA, I was training him pro wrestling. So that was really cool. But it was just something that, again, I'm a believer that nothing's coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. And we met and we clicked. And yeah, it was really cool. But yes, to answer your question, I do a little bit of MMA. I don't want to say like, yes, I do it, because I don't commit to it how I do to wrestling. And if I don't commit to something how I do to wrestling, I'm to me that I'm a con,
Sure. You've dabbled, maybe. You've dabbled.
Right. We'll say I dabbled.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely fun. And he he's a little he wants me to eventually train to do some tournaments, and I'm like, interesting. So that might be down the road. Missa Kate crosses over, but
Yeah.
so, but yeah, no, it's really cool. That's legit. His gym is called Warrior Evolution MMA. So definitely go check it out. If you guys are in Chicago, let me know.
Oh, me.
Go downtown. Go downtown to
I
Chinatown.
yeah, I don't know. My main athletic days have kind of passed me up, but I'm in a flag football league. That's about all I do right now.
Okay.
I'm
It's a
just
little
fighting.
different, but that's okay.
I'm just trying to fight Father Time. That's my goal.
That's fair.
As opposed to, you are still, probably, at least from what I've seen, still in your athletic prime. So
Thank you.
yeah, living up. I couldn't figure out the right excuse there for a second. Has that helped in the ring at all, or no?
100%. Okay. It's really funny because, and that was part of the reason why I wanted to train with him and he wanted to train with me, because we wanted to see the similarities and differences. And there are actually a lot of parallels between MMA and pro wrestling.
Okay.
There are, a few things that are a little different. So those habits that I have for wrestling don't translate to MMA and could potentially be dangerous. So that's something that needs to be worked on. But yeah, it definitely helps. It helps with body control. It helps with, I don't know, honestly everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great. And then you get ideas for the ring, different submissions and different types of striking and stuff like that. It just kind of I don't know, it just opens my mind a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So I want to talk about how at least Missa Kate, the in the ring, the character stuff right now, at least how I see it. So maybe I'll get some confirmations, or maybe you can say, actually, that's not. This is kind of what more how I feel.
This part. I like hearing what people say, because I'm like, okay, does that mean I'm going the direction, or am I going this way? So.
I could be a very small sample. I don't speak for everyone, but so take me back to, like I said, I keep referencing a combo 5 years ago. Are the feelings accurate about, like, you guys were young and nervous and a little figuring it out? Is that accurate to say?
100%.
Okay, because I remember, you were kind of like, went around. I was like, who is Blair Onyx? Like, tell me about Elena Black. Who is Missa Kate? Like, the character in the ring and stuff like that. And I think at the time you were still kind of figuring out that identity. Right now, though, you would say it's probably way more defined. Is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
Missa Kate, to me, I think I really like the Chicago Sweetheart moniker.
Thank you.
And here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say about it. I think that in watching you for 5 years, I think you do really good with, like, an edge and an attitude. And I think you do way better as a heel than you have done as a face. Once again, this is just all opinion. None of this is, like, set in stone.
I agree. I agree.
And I like the Chicago Sweetheart moniker, to me, still fits. Because I think, like, your initial, if I'm wrong, your initial kind of thing was mostly babyface, and you had the Chicago Sweetheart moniker. But I think it still fits, because I think there's a tiny bit of irony in there, where it's like, sure, she can be a sweetheart, but don't, you can swear on this podcast, don't fucking piss her off. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. Am I wrong? Did I explain it correctly, or do you want to add any?
You're spot on. No, you're spot on. And I think as time goes, that was something that I always wanted. I always liked Chicago Sweetheart. I like the contrast to it, as you said, the irony. Because Chicago, as you know, is edgy in itself, right? I mean, look at the greats of wrestling that came out of it.
Yeah.
So it's maybe
the edgiest guy, CM Punk to ever, the guy who can,
just to name a guy, if you know him.
the people are either on one end of the scale with him, right? So that's a good example.
No, yeah, no, I agree. Obviously I'm a fan of him, and anytime I met him, he's been nothing but respectful to me. So I'm like, I can't say anything bad. I've never had a bad experience.
Right.
So, but yeah, point case made. Like he's as edgy as it gets. When I think about Chicago and people from Chicago, that's how we are. And it's really fun now when fans are, saying like, oh, Missa Kate's probably as Chicago as it gets. Because I'm like, cool, because that was what I like to translate through the screen, through my art, through wrestling, all that fun stuff. Because again, born and raised here, and through traveling and wrestling, I realized we are a type of breed, a special type of breed that a lot of people either love or hate. So I mean, I grew up here, so I love it. I don't mind the edginess and the attitude.
Yeah.
Some other people might not agree so much, or they don't understand it, or it's taken incorrectly. But however you want to say it, however you want to look at it, yeah, Chicago Sweetheart was always meant to be a contrast. I am now
Okay.
getting more into that contrast, and moving forward, definitely I have more ideas and more ways to go about it. So I'm very interested to see how people will feel about that. I don't think people are gonna be mad at it.
Okay.
But yeah, we're gonna have a little bit more fun.
How what would you rate your comfortability, scale of 1 to 10, with like in the ring and being that character? Would you say you obviously there's room for always to grow, but how comfortable are you in the ring right now? Would you say just being yourself?
I'm pretty comfortable. It's more so just, I guess my brain goes, okay, I now have a foundation, right?
Yeah.
I'm now playing. So when it comes to answering that question, I guess I can't fully answer it because I'm still playing around.
Sure.
Yes, I have a foundation. I can, when I'm in a match, especially as a heel, being a heel, it's easier to play around. As a baby face, I have to figure out a different way to play around. So I guess I'm more comfortable. The scale will be higher on the heel.
Yeah.
But on the baby face, still trying to figure it out. But I think over because NWA, they had me as a baby face.
Okay.
So through NWA, I figured out, not again, I don't like saying figuring out because it means 100%, and there's never 100% in wrestling, but I have a better idea as a babyface, Missa Kate, Chicago Sweetheart. And to me, it was always, you want to stay true to who you are, obviously, like the character, so you don't want to change it too much if you're a baby or a heel. Randy Orton, perfect example. If you look at them, even CM Punk, if you look at them, they never really change. It's just slight little things. So that's kind of like stuff that I've been studying and kind of had to get ingrained in me as like, oh, you don't have to be like this baby face and all this crap. So, yeah, I'm definitely a lot more confident. I'm confident enough that I feel comfortable playing around with the character now and taking it different avenues. So however you want to rate that on your scale, I'll let you rate.
That seems pretty high. That seems fairly high. Are you a coffee person?
Can you tell?
Is it heel Missa Kate before coffee and then babyface Missa Kate maybe after like the second cup of coffee? It's like you're still the same person, but there's different shades here.
Yes, but more so food. Coffee is
more better. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a hangry person. Jordan found that out in Philly. He was like, right? Missa needs to eat at this time. He's like,
okay.
like he like knew my schedule before I did. He's good. He's good at picking up stuff. And getting punched in the face by me. And so, but no, that's me. Yeah, heel is like if I'm hangry, babies are right after I ate.
Perfect. What'd you guys eat down there? I'm assuming Philly cheesesteaks. That's the stereotypical, but
yeah, we went to now I can't think of the name. Oh my god, I think it starts with Geno's.
That sounds right. Right. Yeah.
But apparently that was more of the tourist.
Like the commercialized one a bit.
Yeah, it wasn't like
Yeah.
the heart of Philly kind of cheesesteak, so that kind of made me sad after I found that out. It was great, don't get me wrong, and they had these pizza fries. Oh my god, these pizza fries! If you ever go, you need to get them because I was like, can we take these home somehow? But yeah, obviously Philly cheesesteak. I was trying to eat kind of clean, but obviously it was like I'm not wrestling, so it's kind of like half a vacation, half work.
Sure.
So yeah, I felt like I didn't eat as much as more snacking. But there's a gym not too far where we stayed, so I had a lot of protein shakes,
There you go.
stuff like that. So yeah, Philly cheesesteak, so good. So I want to go back.
I don't know if I should have led with food. I don't know if you heard the inflection in your voice when you started talking about it, but you got very cheerful all of a sudden. That was great. Not that
See,
you
I
weren't.
told you, it's a thing.
There is a food that we're going to end on another food thing too. So
Okay.
we'll go back
I
to
like it.
wrestling and on some food. So you mentioned NWA.
Mhm.
That I think too. When I saw that, I was like, and I hate this too because like the wrestling world can be so comparative, right? And that's how people get burnt out. They try, and then they're just comparing themselves to everyone. So I kind of hate the way that I thought this, but I also thought it in the same sense of like when I saw you in NWA, I was like, oh fuck yeah, like that's an awesome step for her, in my head. So you took that NWA next step. But what are some other things you think that you can continue to improve on now that you're like on NBA and have been on TV? What are some other layers you can add to kind of add to Missa Kate to keep improving on your game?
More storylines.
Okay.
Now that I'm having a foundation for a character, I'm coming up with ideas. The best way to display that is through storylines. You can only do so much in matches, in my opinion, to show a character. Which again, you can. I'm not saying you can't do it. You can. However, you need different layers. Especially like, well, with anything that's, if you think about anybody who's over the top, you think about John Cena, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, The Rock, Stone Cold. Let's talk about the main twos, Rock and Stone Cold, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they did more promos than they did wrestling.
Yeah, there's probably some nights where there was just all promos and no matches on their agenda.
Right. So
Yeah.
they did more storyline stuff than they did wrestling. And that's what got people into watching their matches. So to me, again, maybe it's a chip on my shoulder, however you want to say that, but the people that are just interested in watching my matches, and again, this is feedback that I've gotten, is they watch my matches and they're like, oh, we like watching your matches because you always do something different. We know that when we're watching you, it's never going to be like the same. You're always going to change something, different ideas, or I'm going to be entertained or whatever the case may be. So, which is good. That means I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
So I'm like, cool, if I'm able to do that in the ring, now imagine having a storyline on top of that. It just expands what I could do in the ring.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anyone particular that you feel you could have a really good storyline with? Anyone that like very clashes against who your character is?
I think my character could clash with anybody and everybody.
Your character just get in arguments with everyone.
Yeah, she could be a little sister. So it's just like I'm gonna push some buttons. Just let me know which button, and I'll go push.
Yeah.
So yeah, anybody. I mean, even Billy. Like Billy wants a storyline. Let's go. Billy Corgan.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant Starks, but yeah,
Oh.
Corgan. Yeah, sure. That would get some news.
But no, literally anybody. I'll go back to like Chicago roots, right? Like, Kylie and I had a match at Warrior. I feel like if we were somewhere between her character and my character, where again, that in itself is a good contrast. You have Chicago's favorite daughter, Chicago sweetheart. So us alone, I think, could have a fun storyline. Another person in Chicago, you think Sky. Sky is now developing into her own. She's finding a new character and stuff like that. And again, the history that her and I have wrestled so many times, and we're supposed to wrestle at CSW. Unfortunately, that it didn't happen. I mean, she she wrestled oh my god, I can't think of her, Kyle and Will Ospreay as the ref. I mean, you got to get 2 AEW people to replace me. That's okay, I understand. Uh, but yeah, so I think that just because she's come so far and I've gone on my journey and stuff like that, so I think us two, yeah, there's honestly you could kind of just throw a rock and and again, that's was something when thinking about my character. That's what I wanted. I want to be able to work with anybody and everybody, no matter
Yeah.
what. And I feel like I have a good, and I'll keep saying foundation, but I do have a good foundation for that.
Yeah, find someone with a smile on their face, and you can roundhouse kick it right off. So.
Exactly. It's just a target. You just knock each tooth out.
So I know we talked about the conversation 5 years ago. This is, I guess, kind of a loaded question, but maybe what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Missa Kate 5 years ago versus Mrs. Kate now. What are some lessons that have been learned in those 5 years?
Stop panicking so much.
Okay. That helps.
One, right? But no, one thing that helped me a lot, and this is like I'll tell a lot of people that are newer to the business this, and I don't remember, I think I heard it on a podcast, and it pains me that I can't remember which podcast. I want to say Jeff Jarrett.
Okay.
But it was something along the lines of, nothing's ever as planned. If you go into something expecting something to be fucked up, or expecting like, hey, something's gonna get messed up, but guess what? It's gonna be okay. That statement alone was like, like it took like a load off my shoulders, or a load off my chest, that shoulder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, so something like that, or even just character-wise, like I feel like I've gotten more confident and just more comfortable. When I first started, when we had that interview, I was what? So that was 5 years ago. I've been doing this 6 years, so I was a year in, and at that time, a year in and maybe 6 to 8 months. That's nothing, because I only had so much training time, so I almost felt like I was training while wrestling. And again, me being me, I have a jock brain where I'm like, no, this needs to be, certain ways. And when I felt like I didn't have that, I know I keep saying that that's going to be the title of this podcast, as foundation.
Yeah.
Foundation of Kate. Foundation. Anyway, so
we'll work on that. We'll
work on it. We'll get back to the drawing board. But yeah, I was just like, I was freaking scared. I didn't freaking know anything.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about the business. I was just excited. I was a kid. I know I said it, but a kid in a candy shop. So, I gotten to the point now where I'm like, I could relax and enjoy a little bit. I'm still obviously like anxiety ridden, as all of us are. But
Same.
It's definitely from a calmer perspective now. I'm more, I can understand more now, so that's helpful.
Yeah. Is there anything specific that you would go back? If you were to go back in time to that room and tell yourself, would it be like, hey, look, success is not linear? Is that something you would say? Is there anything specific you would tell yourself, or just like chill out, like calm down, kind of like you said?
I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm pretty stubborn. So even back then, there were people telling me, there were people saying these things to me. But it's everyone goes through it. Yeah. It's like a parent thing, right? How many times, and now you're a parent, so you probably understand this more as a parent. When you're a kid, your parents are telling you this, that, whatever, and you'll understand when you're older. And it's not clicking. It's just not clicking. And you're like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. And now as an adult, especially with a child now, you're like, oh, yeah, now it's clicking. Now I get it. They were right. Maybe I should have listened to them. Like certain things, But something, and so I had a seminar recently with Chavo Guerrero. And something that he said in the seminar was, and sorry, Chavo, if I'm not supposed to share this, but you shared it with me. So, in the seminar, he mentioned to all of us, the reason why he improved so much and he got good at what he did in this business is because he kept making mistakes. And he said that he became the world's best I'm gonna misspeak, but the world's best mistaker or something along those lines, because he was telling us examples of matches that he's had and like, oh, this has happened, so now when this happened again, like I knew how to fix it and like I'm better on my feet and all this stuff. And that's kind of, I guess, how I've always been, as I learn best from my mistakes. So again, somebody could tell me something till they're blue in the face. Now I think I'm in a point in my life, like I've matured, professionally, personally, so I'm more likely to listen and take in certain things than I was then. Because again, I was young, ignorant, excited, all the above. So it was just, I want to do this and I want to do it my way, kind of thing, a little bit. So yeah, I know I'm rambling. I think I answered your question.
No, I think I get it. I think I get
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like young ambition, and I think we all kind of went through that with certain whatever you want to do in life.
Right, and it came from passion. Like it was never. I was never someone that was like, oh, like, but it was just, it all came from passion. Where I'm just like, I just want to do this so badly. I want to do it correctly, and because of that, instead of actually going the correct path, I was kind of like, oh, I'm trying, and I'm like flailing around over here, and everyone's like, go this way. And so, yeah,
for sure. But you talked about personal too. I wanted to also check in on, like I said, what I said before we started recording. Not only Missa Kate, the character, but Melissa, the person, and how just wanted to check. And this was the huge theme of the episode we did 2 weeks ago with Blair, or whenever we released it. Might have been 2 weeks ago. But she talked a ton about how she's grown mentally, and like how her mental health is so vastly improved, and how it got out of hand within like the past 5 years, and how she had to bring herself back to like loving wrestling. How I just want to check in, and you can share as much as you're comfortable with. How are the mentals now? How is your mental health now 5 years in?
a lot better,
Okay.
and I think that came with maturing also, because with maturing, and personally, professionally, however you want to say it, as you grow up, you kind of start seeing certain things for what they are, and you're kind of like, this person really isn't the best for my life. They don't really have my best interests at heart. So you have people like that you kind of get out of your life. That when that happens, you're like, oh wow, I feel a lot better now. You didn't realize how much they were weighing on you, or just certain things like that. Again, I don't know how much like people share on here, but
as much as you're comfortable with.
Yeah, no, it's just like being young, and you have like maybe not the smartest decisions and stuff like that. That also cloud your judgment. And I know quarantine, that was something when that happened. I think if anything, that weighed on me really bad. And it took me a while to get out of it, like that mindset and that like heavy feeling, because I was a busybody before quarantine, where I always say quarantine also partially saved me. So I was sleeping 4 hours a night, and then maybe 2-hour naps during the day between, because I was working 30 hours a week, full-time student at UIC Chicago, which is university. Jeez. And then training minimum 2 times a week, and that would be until like midnight, 1 in the morning sometimes, and then having shows Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So yeah, I wasn't, and then meal prepping and stuff for myself. So that wasn't the best for me. So when quarantine happened, I put a halt to it, which was great, because I was honestly at that point, I had a desk job, and there'd be times where I didn't even realize I was falling asleep at my desk. That's how exhausted and drained I was.
Wow.
And So I was able to get rest, but at the same time, when you're used to having a certain busy schedule and you're just like, it felt like somebody put me in a freaking like a suit and where I can't move.
Yeah.
So that was scary. And then you get there and you're kind of trying to find ways to cope with being stuck inside, and then those become your habits because we were there for a long time. And then when the world starts opening up, you're trying to break those habits. So yeah, that I think I would say that set me back, but at the same time I never regret anything because everything has to happen for a reason, because if I didn't go through that I wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
So overall, yes, I am doing very well. I'm very happy. I'm very blessed, and I don't know, I feel like it's, I don't know, I'm not trying to say someone's gonna try to cancel me, whatever, I don't care. But I know it's like kind of a trend right now, I feel like, talking about God and spirituality and stuff like that. But I did, during very hard times in the past 2 years, I'd say, grow my relationship with God, and that I think's helped me so much and tremendously. So I'm very blessed. So I put my faith in that, and whatever's meant to happen is meant to happen. But I believe I'm in the right path, and it's just, I don't know. This is the happiest I've been in a long time. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It's the irony of this being Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah.
And I do remember there were months where I was just like, yeah, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, so I'm struggling. Like,
Yeah. It's okay to admit, for sure.
Right. So this is definitely the first time in years for this month, I guess, where I'm like, wow, like I have, of course, everybody has problems, but I'm like, I'm actually like, okay. So.
No, it's great to hear. It sounds like it's been a journey. That's kind of what I think Blair was telling me too. Like in this 5 years have been, quarantine was tough for everyone. So you're definitely amongst friends in that area. But it's definitely, it sounds like it's been a journey. So I'm glad to hear that you found stability in that area, which is
thank you. Yes, it'll be in my book one day.
yeah, for sure. Looking forward to that.
It'll be interesting. You'll definitely be like, oh, this is what she was sugarcoating.
Yes, this is what we tell. Yeah, just put us as a little source at the bottom. That one video that I did for Two Heels in the Face.
Yeah.
Yep. Great. Before we get into the finale, what do you got upcoming? I know Second Wrestling, you've been doing a lot of that, and in the title scene, we got more Second Wrestling coming up. What do we have on like the immediate horizon?
Well, right now, this Friday, well, I don't know when this is going to air, but Friday is CSW. And then actually the following day, I'm going to go and support my fellow MMA peeps because we got 2 guys fighting in the cage at Cicero Stadium, so that'll be exciting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. They're going to win. They're great. They're going to win. Okay. Or else I'll beat them. No, so... But yeah, I'm the worst at this, trying to think off the top of my head. But I try to post as much as I can. I'm not the best social media person. I believe in living in the moment. That's why I think
I don't know. I think you're selling yourself short. I like the WrestleVersary montage. So
thank you. I appreciate it. I made that myself. I like being creative.
There you go.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I have different things coming up, and I have more announcements coming, so that's going to be exciting. I can't say right now, but the next couple of months are going to be very, very fun. I'm excited for the future, so definitely stay tuned. I know I'm not really answering your question other than CSW and MMA fight, but
where will these announcements take place? What's the handle again on Instagram?
Missa Kate 23, because I'm born on the 23rd. Because I'm destined for greatness, man. I was born on Thanksgiving, which, if that doesn't tell you how much I love food, there's 2 ongoing jokes my mom has. Is 1, she never got turkey that day, and 2, I was supposed to be born in December, but she's like, you just couldn't pass up food, even like no matter what, so you had to be born on that day. So yes, I'm a food lover. So yes,
Mhm.
be thankful because I was born for greatness.
There
23
you
at
go.
Thanksgiving.
I love it. Speaking of food, okay, so this is a discussion we have to have, and I don't. There's no way you would. I might have to send you some. Not that I think that I got in some weird funk. No, I don't say funk. I actually enjoy it, but I got in like a groove where I started eating a ton of donuts.
Ooh.
This might have been around quarantine.
Okay.
I think I was incepted by some people I was following online, and then like I think the combination of coffee and donuts is just a great mouthfeel in the morning.
Yep.
So I started getting into donuts, and then I started sending these stupid Snapchat reviews to like my immediate group of friends or a couple different groups about and doing donut reviews, and they thought they were funny. So I did a couple public ones. They're not edited at all. Some people find them funny. Maybe I'll send some. I'm not trying to be an influencer or anything, but I got really into donuts. And I know obviously we touched on this a little bit 5 years ago, but I just didn't know how passionate you were about donuts. So crispy. I want to know like what are some of your? I know Krispy Kreme. That's the goat for you. Is that
Mhm.
correct? Okay.
Yeah, Stan's might be taking over though, I will say. Stan's is
Oh no.
they're in Mariano's now. They're more accessible.
I don't know if that's. I have a bone to pick with Stans. I just feel like they try to fancy up a lot of their stuff with icing. Here's my thing. I'm a huge like cake donut guy,
Mhm.
as opposed to like I know Krispy Kreme is most like the yeast risen mostly, right?
Okay.
Like the chewier ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Krispy Kremes are great. So I'm not here to hate on those, but I'm just like the old fashioned style and like the heavy cake donuts.
Okay.
So like yeah, the ones where it tastes like you're biting in a piece. They're like denser. I want to say is the right word. So I love donuts like that. Stan's I feel like has just gone way too commercial, and so
Sure.
that's where and it's like they just throw a bunch of like frosting that just like tastes overly sugary on their donuts. So that I'm not in the stands bandwagon. So I have to come out and say
Okay.
that so you
So you're
don't hate
not
me
allowed in
forever.
Chicago anymore.
Well, what do you think about Do-Right? Do-Right is my favorite.
I've actually never had them.
Oh, okay. So
I do.
this
I
is
need to see. This is what, and we got to figure this out. If we could
let's do
collab
this.
on this, I'd be down. I need to have people tell me different donuts to try because I'm not knowledgeable, and I feel very sad about this.
Missa, you're talking to I have because not all these are local. I've gone to different cities too, not to try donuts, but just because I was in the city, I had donuts. So
Okay.
not like, but I would love to do. I would love to do a donut collab with you, or two as on the face would. I have 41 donuts on this list, 41 places.
Nice. I
So,
did when
but
we were in Philly, there was a place that I
federal,
tried. Huh?
was it federal
In Philly?
donuts in Philly? Yeah.
No, it was like a independently owned business in the little area that I was in. Because I
No,
was
was
like,
it called federal?
no, right, it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it
Sorry,
was.
sorry.
No, it wasn't called Federal. I was saying,
Okay. Okay.
it was like an independently owned business. So,
I see.
um, yeah, they kind of made like custom donuts and stuff like that. I wanted to try. They had a picture of a Fruity Pebble donut, and I was like, oh my god, I'm trying that. But I went there, and they're like, oh, sorry, that was like last month's donut. This month is
Ah,
this. And I had those, and those are still pretty decent. I was like, it didn't. When you want a Fruity Pebble donut, that's kind of the taste that you're going for. You can't really fulfill that.
for sure.
But anyways,
Okay.
continue. Sorry.
No, no. Yeah, there are other ones on here. I can send you any donut content you want, whether it be the
Oh,
list
I'm down.
or my reviews that maybe just my friends think are funny and no one else does. But I would love to we got to do a Do-Right. Do-Right is my favorite. There's
Okay.
one. I live, it's on board where I live, but I can get to the one in Addison fairly quickly because I know
Okay.
they have kind of random, on Addison, sorry, in Wrigleyville. I can get to that one fairly quickly. So yeah, if you're ever up that way, or we can coordinate this. If you need content, you can count us in. We can help you out in that area, and
I'm
it'd
down
probably
with
be mostly be you. But I think you need to try do right.
It's a donut. You don't have to say much.
Their chocolate old fashioned is the best donut I think I've ever had.
Do they have? So one of the reasons why I like Stan's is I love red velvet.
I believe they do. I gotta double check that.
Okay.
I gotta double check that, but I think they do. That sounds right.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll get that.
And then if they have a Fruity Pebble donut on top of that, I might have a new donut place. So.
You know what just opened? I think Hertz just opened. Hertz is in a lot of cities. They're in Denver. They're in maybe Austin. Kind of like the cities people migrated to a lot as of like the last 5-ish years.
Are people hurting to have them?
All right.
He's like, all right, time to go. Time's up. Nice seeing you again. See you again in 5 years.
But I think there's a Hertz that just opened. They have the Fruity Pebble. They have like the Cookie Monster. They have
that sounds nice.
You know, all that kind of area. And,
okay.
So, yeah, maybe we could do that too. We could we'll set something up. But yeah, we'll expand your horizons. Not to hate on Krispy Kreme. There's definitely other donuts out there to eat. So, and I'm happy you're as passionate about it as I am. As you can see, I just kind of went off the agenda here, but it's great to see.
Great. Everyone should be happy about it. Should make a club.
Donut club, I'm in. That's all I have. Thanks for joining again.
Of course.
And definitely will. I think it's been too long. I think it's even been too long since we talked and checked in at a show. So it was great to see you. I think at Ego Pro, just great to check in. We're really happy you're doing well. We've been a fan since we had you on 5 years ago. Obviously, we wouldn't have talked to you if we didn't feel like she's got something. So you do. You've proven it. You'll continue to. So thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me. It was good talking again.
And then on Twitter is the same in terms of where people follow you?
Yes. Missa Kate 23. MISSAKATE 23. TikTok. I'm sometimes funny on. Depending on if I feel like posting videos or not. I think might just be Missa Kate. If not, it's Missa Kate 23. But yeah.
I love it. Well, destined for greatness, Missa Kate, thanks for coming on. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.